each. The 2006 Washington Auto Show was a highly visual and entertaining automotive extravaganza. We have product presentation specialist Kathleen and Matt covering the new Mitsubishi 2007 Spider and the new Ford GT500. I hope you find their techniques educational as well as entertaining.
From generation to generation, the Eclipse continues to evolve, reaching new heights of power and performance with this 07 Spider. Start with an aggressive stance and a youthful, sexy attitude, all the way from the monocle lens-equipped headlamps to the integrated rear spoiler and quick illuminating LED taillights. It's sleek and stylish. The image is fast and streamlined. It has the power to back up that style as well. Our all-new GS is a 4-cylinder, ultra-low emissions engine that delivers 162 horsepower, and our all-new GT has a 3.8-liter V6 that delivers 260 horsepower, and you have your choice of performance-oriented 6-speed manual or 5-speed Sportronic transmission. We've got sophistication and sportiness for you on the interior as well. There's a waveform instrument panel and door insert pads that appear to float. The motorcycle-inspired gauge cluster is compact, set up high, easy to read, and it's set off with a cool ice blue illumination, which looks very good at night. We have, if you like your music and you like it loud, you're going to love this. You can now add a premium 650-watt Rockford Fosgate audio system that's 9 speakers, and it includes an 8-inch subwoofer that sits in the back seat. We've got 6-disc in-dash CD changer, MP3 playback, and your optional steering wheel audio controls. We just unveiled this vehicle about 2 weeks ago in Detroit. It's going to be on the market in March this year, 2007, or 2006, as a 2007 model. One of the other things that's really nice, I'd like to do a little bit of a demo for you. It has a fully electric fabric cloth top and a powered tonneau cover. It takes 19 seconds, and it's a one-touch operation. Just press and hold the close button, and the car does everything for you.
Introducing the all-new 2007 63 horse Maybach V6, driven to thrill.
There you go. Pretty nifty. It's not bad for a car that's, we're talking about a price range that starts around 26 and tops out around 34. There you have it, folks. That's the 2007 Mitsubishi Eclipse Spider. My name's Kathy. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. We have a couple of the product specialists here on the floor. If you'd like some more information about the vehicle, we do have a lead generation specialist here, Stephanie. She's wearing black and has on some beige boots. You'll see her around. Grab her. While you're here, be sure to check out the rest of our vehicles as well. Thanks for coming by the Mitsubishi display, and enjoy the rest of your day at the Washington, D.C. Auto Show.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you here to the Ford display. My name is Matt, and I am here to introduce you to the most powerful factory-built Mustang in history. This is right here. This is the Shelby GT500. This is a very unique collaboration between performance car legend Carroll Shelby and the Ford Special Vehicle Team, or SVT for short. We're going to go ahead and answer 2 questions that everybody always has at the beginning of this presentation. How much does it cost, and when is it going to come out? Well, you're looking at a release date sometime during this upcoming summer, and it's going to be right around $40,000 for the coupe and about $45,000 for the convertible. Now, this spectacular car is built on the legendary foundation of the Ford Mustang. That foundation is rock solid. Mustangs were engineered to be world-class, high-performance vehicles from the very, very beginning. Now, a third very popular question that people like to ask me is, what's underneath the hood? And what you've got here is a V8 that was definitely built to kick some serious asphalt. It's Ford's 5.4-liter, 32-valve, supercharged V8. It's got a cast iron block with aluminum heads, an 8.5-pound Roots-type supercharger on it. It's putting out 475 horsepower and 400 150 pound-feet of torque. Now, the way that you're going to use all of that is with a Tremec TR6060, which is a manual transmission. It's a 6-speed that we took right out of one of our race cars, and I'm going to tell you about in just a couple of minutes. What does all that power translate into as far as performance is concerned? The GT500 is going to do 0 to 60 in about 4.5 seconds. A quarter mile will be in the high 11s, low 12s, and you're looking at a top speed that was originally going to be governed at 155 miles an hour. It looks like now it's more like drag limited at 170 miles an hour. That's some serious moving. That's why SVT engineers have refined the chassis to an unparalleled high level of feel, finesse, and feedback. Now, right off the bat, we had to beef up the shocks, the stabilizer bars, and the spring rates just to accommodate for the torque. Now, aside from that, if you know Mustang, you may recognize a lot of the rest of the suspension. We start up front, we've got a McPherson strut suspension with reverse L lower control arms, and in the rear, we've got a single live axle, 3-link rear suspension with a tubular panhard rod for precise control. Now, the reason you might recognize that is because it is right off the Mustang GT. It is also right off of the FR500C, which is Ford's racing Mustang that competes in the Grand Am Series Cup. Now, the Grand Am Series are production cars racing against one another out on a track. When I say production cars, basically the premise behind that series is you have to go out and be able to buy. The consumer has to be able to purchase the car right at the dealership. So what we're talking about are things like the BMW M Series, Porsche 996, vehicles of that caliber. The first time that the Mustang went out onto the track was last February 2005 at Daytona, Florida. It went against the best that Germany and Japan had to offer, and it won. In fact, it went on to win 4 more times and take the championship in its very first year in the Grand Am Series Cup. Why did I tell you all that about the FR500C? Because it uses virtually the identical suspension and same TR6060 transmission that you find in every single GT500. Now, if you're also going to go 170 miles an hour, you've got another important thing to worry about. That's getting back down to 0 miles an hour. And the way that you do that is with the largest brakes ever fitted to a production Mustang. You look behind that front wheel, you're going to find a 4-piston Brembo caliper wrapped around a 14-inch ventilated disc. In the rear, 11.8-inch discs with a single piston caliper. That's big, serious stopping power. Now, mechanically, that pretty much sums up the performance package that comes with every single GT500. Actually, no, it's not. Let me tell you about the tires real quick. You've got Goodyear Eagle F1 Z-rated performance car tires, 255s up front, 285s in the rear. Now, back to the overall design. There's everything built right into the body of the GT500 just says fast. If you start out up front, take a look underneath the grille there, underneath the front fascia, and you're going to see something called a chin splitter or an air splitter. This is definitely right off the performance car. In fact, it's off of our supercar, which is the Ford GT over to my right. And what that does is 2 major things. Number one, it creates downforce as the air rushes across it, pushes down on the front of the vehicle, gives you a better aerodynamic profile. Another thing that it does is it pushes more air around the car instead of underneath, which aids in stability, especially at high speeds. Rear spoiler inspired by the 1968 Mustang, and then underneath you've also got some air disrupting fins that we once again have taken off the Ford GT. That's all about aerodynamics. Let's not forget about airflow. You've got 2 hood heat extraction ducts. They work pretty simply. As cooler air passes over them, it draws the hot air away from that 475 horsepower monster that lives underneath the hood of the GT500. Now, the rest of the exterior that we're going to talk about is just about the way it looks and its heritage. It's all about Carroll Shelby. Now, you do have a little bit of SVT badging on the exterior in the dead center cap of each one of those 18-inch wheels. But the rest is really all about Carroll Shelby. You've got the classic Le Mans style stripes running nose to tail. take a look at the lower racing stripe just above the rocker panel on the bottom part of the door. That says GT500. And where that came from was 1964 all the way through 1970. We made some Mustangs with Carroll Shelby. They were called GT350s, GT350R, H, and eventually the biggest, baddest one of all was the GT500KR. That stood for King of the Road. King of the Road had a 428 cubic inch engine in it. Nowadays, when you talk about displacement, everybody talks in terms of liters. Well, if you reverse the formula to get the liters out of 428 cubic inches, it's about 7 liters. So imagine those Mustangs in the mid-80s to mid-90s that had the 5.0 on the side. Imagine one of those with a 7.0 on the side of it. That was one big, bad car, and that's where you get that stripe from. Probably the most infamous, if not most recognizable symbol of Carroll Shelby is the Cobra. Now, you got to keep in mind that up until now, I have not called this car a Cobra. It's not in the title anywhere. It's going to be a little confusing at first to everybody, myself included, because prior Mustang SVT vehicles were called Cobra, and you've got badges all over it, but it's not in the name. You've got a large one on each fender. There's also one offset center left here in the grille. And then when you get a good look at the deck lid back there, you're going to see a Shelby GT500 badge with a Cobra right in the dead center. When you do get a glimpse of that, remember it because it's also in the dead center of your steering wheel. And then last but not least for the Cobra, there'll be one embossed between your shoulder blades on each one of the 2 front seats. SVT also has one more badge on the satin aluminum kick plate right there in the door sill. A couple of different interiors are going to be available. What you see here is charcoal black with crimson SVT trim. We're also going to do a solid charcoal black leather interior. You've got satin aluminum in place of all of the chrome that you would find in a regular Mustang, for instance, around the air vents and around the gauges. The gauges, incidentally, are titanium faced, and we flip-flopped them. What we did is we put the tach in front of the driver rather than the speedometer. 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. You're probably already going too fast anyway, so you might as well monitor those supercharged V8 engine revs. About 40 years ago, the first Shelbys rolled off the line, and here you have the legend continued, with all of the benefits that modern technology and SVT engineering can deliver. They haven't released an exact production as far as number of units yet. The rumors that I've heard have ranged anywhere from a low of 7,000 to a high of 14,000. In comparison, from 1964 until 1970, we made 14,889 Shelby cars. So there's a chance that we can produce 50% all the way up to 100%, nearly 100% of what we did in all time. That has you thinking, well, it might not be as collectible as those Mustangs were. Here's a little food for thought. Last Saturday at Barrett-Jackson, a very famous car auction in Arizona, the rights to purchase the first GT500, the rights, not the car itself, just the right to buy it, serial number 1, were sold for $600,000. Now granted, that vehicle will have Carroll Shelby and Edsel Ford's signature on the dashboard, but if that doesn't say something about legendary heritage and lineage, I really don't know what does. To keep that in perspective, the Ford GT, that vehicle has a sticker price of about $100,000 more than this. The first one of those that we auctioned off went for $542,000. So this one's about a quarter of the price, but sold for $58,000 more. It's pretty impressive. I'll finish it off with 4 very important things. Number 1, it's going to come out this summer. Number 2, it's going to be about 40 for the coupe and 45 for the convertible. Number 3, what's underneath the hood is a 5.4 liter supercharged V8 giving you 475 horsepower. And then last but not least, I myself, my name is Matt. I do appreciate your attention. Please enjoy the rest of the fine Ford vehicles as well as the rest of your afternoon here at the 2006 Washington International Auto Show.